Today, I want to talk about Iran. And the reason why is, I think it's pretty evident why. But if you have not been paying attention, there has been a large-scale assault that Israel essentially started, but basically hand in hand with the United States onto Iran, and there has been significant fallout from it. And the main reason why I want to cover it is because I think it literally goes hand in hand with pretty much all the predictions that I made a little bit over a week ago now. And to be quite frank, I think this was just all common sense. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover a video that covers a bunch of the, lowlights, if you want to call it that. What is going on there, just so that everyone is understanding, because I have been keeping a very close eye on it, and it's not great. But with all that said, we'll get into it, and I'll provide my thoughts on it as well. Hi there, pardon the interruption. I just wanted to make a real quick ask that if you are watching my content and you appreciate it, if you could please drop me a subscription. As you can see, through the life of my channel, 95% of the people that watch my content are not subscribed. So if you are watching and you find yourself enjoying the content, I would ask that you drop a subscription. Just, again, a really quick PSA, it would mean a lot to me. It really does help my channel grow, and it allows me to make this something that I can do for a living. So just wanted to take a real quick interruption, and I'll return you back to my video. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy.
All right, guys, we're going to start this morning with shocking images. Let's put this up on the screen. This is a US fighter jet after being hit allegedly by friendly fire by our Kuwaiti allies, falling out of the sky. And this is reportedly one of 3 fighter jets that CENTCOM is saying hit by friendly fire. The Iranians are saying that they are claiming responsibility for at least one of these jets, but our government is claiming this was friendly fire from the Kuwaitis. 3 U.S. fighter jets being shot out of the sky.
And here's the thing that I think is so significant about this. Number one, of course, right, we're not going to admit that any of them, because the problem with this is this war is already immensely unpopular. So if you were then to admit, oh yeah, we lost 3 planes, they were able to shoot down our top tier, multi-$100 million planes, so there goes $300 million. Not even, the craziest thing about this is that I don't even know that it's actually better that it was friendly fire. So that's number one, right? I mean, that it's just, and it just goes like, what are you guys doing that these planes are being shot down by friendly fire? Like, first of all, what is going on that this is happening? That's kind of insane. Again, because these are like $100 million planes. 2, of course, even if it wasn't all friendly fire, if even one of these happened because of Iranian drones, which is most likely what happened. Because in my original video where I call it out, I say I would be very interested when this war eventually happens, and here we are, I would be very interested to see how basically our super expensive machinery and weaponry performs against what is basically new age combat. And so it would not surprise me at all if one of these planes, again, $100 million planes, was shot down or run into by some $20,000 drone, or even if you want to say it's a more expensive one, it's like $250,000, whatever. $250,000 versus $100 million. Like, a little bit of inequality there. That's not an equation that balances out, in my opinion. So of course, even if that was the case, they would absolutely, the United States would not want to admit that we are losing $100 million plus airplanes to hundreds of thousands of dollar drones. Because also that exposes the vulnerabilities, and it tells China, it tells Russia, it tells all these countries that, oh yeah, there's an easy way for you to literally just, you buy these, invest into these drones and just smash them into these $100 million airplanes, and they're completely out of commission. So yeah, I mean, we are in no way incentivized, because that would completely demoralize us too. Because what are all of our tax dollars going to at this point in time? Our budget for the military is so overinflated. They refuse, they cannot pass audits. They refuse to tell us what all the money is actually going to. And look, we're paying for these things that are way over expensive and are massively ineffective in today's world. So again, just right off the rip, that's what I wanted to say about it. But yeah, it's completely insane. And of course, there's all the incentive in the world for us not to tell the truth about what is happening. And then also, like I said, and that will be a recurring theme too, because there's other claims that have come out that the US is saying are not true, and the IRGC are saying one thing, and it just, again, it's hard to know. That will be a huge disclaimer for the rest of the video, is that these are all just, it's all developing. These are all things that I have seen. I'm going to provide you with claims that I have seen made in multiple places. It does not mean that it is all true. I would probably take it with a grain of salt. It's probably somewhere in the middle. I'll try to call it out when it happens, when I'm making these claims, which ones are verified versus speculation. But I want to say that as well. But yes, the comedy of errors, though, with friendly fire in these planes going down, again, what are we even doing? This is completely insane. But we'll get back to the video.
Now, as far as we know, all of the service members on board those fighter jets, all of those pilots are safe. There are some crazy videos out there, too, of them being recovered. In one of them, the Kuwaitis who find one of the pilots says, let's call an ambulance. The other one says, he's American, let's just leave him. Give a sense of the way that people in the region outside of leadership feel about American service members and about this operation overall. But Sagar, I mean, before I even get into any of the other elements, and we have a whole slew of them, just your reaction to this.
This is a humiliation on the world stage. This is equivalent to what happened whenever those fighter jets were lost on the carriers in the middle of high seas. And this is what we've been warning about here for weeks, is about military readiness, lack of coordination with allies. You have drones, by CENTCOM's own admission in this alleged friendly fire incident. And by the way, they call it apparent friendly fire, so obviously the facts are still not 100% known, is you had Iranian aircraft, Iranian missiles, and Iranian drones all in the sky at the same time. Each one of these aircraft has a pilot, a weapons systems officer. That's why there's 6 crew that have been ejected, and they're at least safe for now, thank God. But these are $100 million aircraft per piece. So the $300 million just got evaporated in the sky. The scale of what is happening here is unbelievable. We're talking about potentially tens of billions already in munitions, in aircraft, and other assets, which are already lost and have been used in this operations. But perhaps more importantly is you don't want to have these emperor have no clothes moments, because you're looking at the seat of the global empire. And look, we're going to show you plenty of stuff. We are capable of vaporizing a lot of things, but in long sustained kinetic operations, as we're already watching, we have 4 Americans dead as of this morning. 4 Americans are already dead. The president and the top general.
And this is one of the ones that I am specifically talking about, is that 4 is what is claimed by the United States. However, the IRGC has said that they have hit, because I have seen tons of videos where it's literally just US bases being blown up all over the Middle East. And so the IRGC is claiming that they have killed 560 Americans. Now, how could they possibly know that number, right? Because they are fairly removed from it. I mean, I guess it would just be a guesstimation based on how many personnel are at each of these bases, how much damage did they do to the base. But I would guess that It's not for the amount of Americans that have been killed. It's not 4, and it's not 560. Probably somewhere in the middle. And so, and the reason why I say that is because going back to the exact point of why we didn't want to admit to having one of the planes shot down, at least one, shot down by Iran, is that in that instance, same thing applies here. It would make this war that much more massively unpopular. If you say, oh yeah, within 48 hours, we've lost hundreds of service members already, and we've lost 3 planes, and if they actually showed the scale of they bombed our number 1 radar base in the Middle East that is very important for actually tracking all of the outgoing missiles from Iran. They have bombed like the all of the things that Iran has hit. They have, even in Israel, there have been many missiles that have been hitting Israel, like tons, and it seems to only be ramping up. So it's only getting worse. It seems like the first wave that they launched were just kind of, all right, onesie, twosie, we'll see, maybe some stuff will get through. And then day 2, they've ramped it up. And now day 3, it seems like they're ramping it up again. So, and they hit what I have seen again, and it's just claimed, but it has been backed up with multiple. I've seen it claimed multiple times, but they hit a nuclear power plant in Israel. They hit their desalinization plant, which basically destroys their ability for any of their entire country. I think it cripples like 65% of their water that they get. They hit many US bases all around the region. Like, again, if we were fully shown by mainstream media, by like if people understood what is happening over there. Yes, Iran is getting hit very hard. Yes, they are sustaining casualties, but it's not the cakewalk that the United States government is trying to sell you. And once again, if you knew that we lost 3 ships and they were able to shoot them down, because these are supposed to be cutting edge, planes, or we lost hundreds of service members already. This was already a completely unpopular war. It would be 1,000 times that.
Keep saying more to come, more to come. Maybe there have been more and they're not even telling us.
Well, the president actually indicated in an interview with the New York Times that there likely are already more dead. And I can't even call this really a speech, but a hastily edited statement that Trump gave yesterday. He spoke about how there will likely be more dead Americans out of this war. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly,
and I just can't even listen to this BS anymore. I thought one of the funniest things that emerged out of this was it was actually trending on X last night. And then, of course, Elon Musk goes in and shuts it down immediately. But it was trending, send Barron, draft Barron. And there's actually a website as well. I think it's like draftbaron.com, something like that. You can look it up for yourself. But they actually created a Draft Baron website because the hypocrisy of all of these elected officials, that it's rules for thee and not for me. He says all this BS, and then he will not. If you actually believed it, send your son. You have a military-age son. Send him. Do you actually believe in this? No. You're willing to send other people's children to die for your whatever, greater Israel project, but you are not willing to send your own child. I would not ever, and I've made my stance on joining the military very clear, but if I were a young adult now, I would refuse to join the military until these elected officials send their children into battle themselves. Until they vote and they make their children go, absolutely not. Because that just shows you how disrespectful they are to the average American's lives and how little they value the citizens that they're supposed to represent. And that just, I cannot stand when I hear them say bullshit like this, because you don't mean it. If you meant it, you would sign your kid up to go too. But guess what? You're not doing that. So I cannot believe anything you're saying. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining, because that's exactly what Trump is doing right here.
There will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization.
Yeah, do everything he can to stop it and save lives, except for not get into the war at all. Tell Israel that if this is what you want, then go do it by yourself. And again, it's just so infuriating to me. You don't mean anything that you're saying. Just, I don't know how any service member can be behind this at all. I mean, I get it, right? They may have signed up before and now they're just kind of stuck going into it. But this is just a clown show. We get absolutely nothing out of this. Like, okay, you might be able to make some argument about, it may cripple China's oil import. It's crippling our oil imports. Literally, gas is already going to rise 50%. Is that worth it for Israel to achieve what they want? You answer that for yourself, but I can tell you what my answer is, and I think you can tell too.
They have waged war against civilization itself.
Interesting he doesn't. Yeah, interesting he doesn't send his own military-age son into this supposedly worthy cause. And we can put A2 up on the screen. This is the quote I was referencing to the New York Times. I'll read this whole thing. Mr. Trump spoke from Mar-a-Lago about 36 hours into the conflict, soon after he received news of American casualties, saying he could only speak briefly because he was about to meet with the generals. He acknowledged that his administration expected more casualties based on projections. 3 is 3 too many, as far as I'm concerned. And of course, as Sagar said, it's now up to 4. One of the wounded service members succumbed to their injuries. He goes on to say, if you look at projections, they do projections. It could be quite a bit higher than that. We expect casualties. But he professed confidence Iran would in the end bend to America's and Israel's will. The country has been very substantially weakened, to put it mildly.
And just by his statement right there, if you look at projections, it could be quite a bit higher than that. Again, that's why I say I lean more towards, it's not 4, it's not, I highly doubt it's 560, but it's somewhere in the middle, I would guess. Because with that statement alone, he's telling the American people to brace for a higher number. He doesn't want to admit it. Again, if you were to admit that it was hundreds in the first 48 hours, everyone would revolt immediately. You think the approval for this is low already. It would be beyond in the basement. It would be through the floor. It would be 6 feet under. No one is interested in this war. And if you were to know the true amount of casualties, and the other part too, is the true amount of money that has been funneled into it already. Again, that's inflation. So even if you go, oh yeah, I don't have anyone that I know that's in the military, I don't really care about them, they got themselves into this conundrum by signing up for the military in the first place, it doesn't really affect me, whatever. The problem is, we're still going to experience insane inflation off the back of this. As I just mentioned, oil is going to be up 50%. So you're paying more at the pump, and then by the way, all of the shipping back and forth for to the stores, that's going to be put onto how much you pay for goods and services. So that's going to raise the prices of everything. And even if, the US is totally self-sustaining and blah, 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 whatever. No. Exxon and all of these scummy oil companies are going to seize on this crisis. The price is going to go up because it's a global market. We're going to ship it out abroad, and then prices will rise here as well. Mark my words, that's exactly what's going to happen.
In other comments that he gave recently, Sagar, he also was asked, okay, you want the regime, you're going for the regime change. How is this going to work? He offered a number of different theories, including one of them being that the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Corps, would just surrender their weapons to the population. They would just hand over their weapons and give it up.
Look, I mean, it's not time for a victory lap, but it's true. If you've been watching the show, what have we been saying? They're on a sugar high from Venezuela and from Midnight Hammer. They really believed that it would be the same. They didn't want to believe any of the people from the top general, Dan Kane, to...
And because I'm infinitely humble, I will take a victory lap. I called out, and granted, they said about 90% chance. I said, yes, exactly. I pointed to all the things, the buildup of troops, the poison-pilled negotiations that they were trying to put out there. I put together, I said, plot all the points on the map, and it looks like we're going to war. And my prediction for how it plays out is unfolding almost to the T. I said we would go in, we would do strikes, we would try and cripple as much as we could, but they would launch an insane volley of missiles at Israel and other bases, U.S. bases in the region and allies. I did not foresee that. That was one where I missed the call on that. But yeah, they have attacked things like the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. Like there are a lot of very high-profile targets that they have stricken as well because, oh, you're an ally and you're enabling this, and so we're going to go after you too. It hasn't been to the same level as what Israel and Tel Aviv has experienced, but yes, absolutely. Exactly as I said, they would launch out as much as they could. They would try to level everything that they can, and that seems to be exactly what is going on here. And so, yes, it is playing out exactly the way I said it did, and I think it will only continue to escalate. I think they have been, again, ramping it up, like I said in the onset. I think they started small. They wanted to test and stress, and okay, now the U.S. has used up all of our anti-air defenses, which, by the way, are like $15 million per missile, versus trying to stop a $20,000 missile. So we've used up a ton of our anti-air defenses for trying to protect Israel, and now they're using their more and more advanced weaponry. They have hypersonic missiles, they have used them, they have stricken. Our anti-air defense system, the Iron Dome, is completely ill-equipped to stop it. It is completely defenseless against hypersonic missiles, and they have them, and they have used them, and it has stricken Israel multiple times. They also have, from my understanding, they have warheads that basically are somewhat like cluster bombs that, again, render the anti-air defense, render the Iron Dome completely useless as well. They cannot hit them because it shoots out a bunch of projectiles, and that doesn't stop that from happening at all. So I have seen quite a few videos of just, it looks like the entire sky is raining brimstone and ash down on Israel. So yeah, again, I think it was just a test case. They are ramping it up, and I think it, eventually they will run out of munitions, I think, but I think for a few days at least, it will continue to scale up. And we'll see what happens from there.
Many of the other advisors who said this one is very different. If you want to know how fucked we are, let's put A3 up here. Jonathan Karl at ABC News talked to the president last night, and he was asked about possible candidates to take over Iran. They were killed in the initial attack. Quote, the attack was so successful, it knocked out most of the candidates. It's not going to be anybody that what we are thinking of because they're all dead. Second or third place is dead. He is enamored at the strength of the U.S. bomb, or actually even in this case, it's the Israeli bombs that were able to take out these leaders. But this fantasy idea of the IRGC just handing over their weapons to the people, yeah, I'm sure that's going to happen. The very same people that just killed a bunch of the protesters who rose up against them. I mean, this is...
Yeah, it was completely delusional. Like, that was literally never going to happen. So yeah, when you're seeing that, kind of claims, and I think he's trying to put a positive spin on it. But, and this is the funniest thing, if you want to know truly how bad it is going for them, if you've ever heard a picture is worth 1,000 words, this one is pretty amazing. Iran war is going super well. Again, I don't even need to tell you how poorly it's going. I literally could have just put up this photo and that says it all. This, I think, is all the proof that you need. And yeah, someone caught it from outside. So he was not aware. Again, I think Donald Trump is just putting on the most positive face he can here. But this is him, you can tell. Red face, screaming, pointing at Pete Hegseth. This is just chef's kiss. This tells the entire story. It is completely the dumbest action that we could have taken from the start, and this exposes how badly it's going. Again, he's going to try and put as positive of a spin on it as he can. So when he's talking to the American people, of course, he's going to be saying something completely different than what is going on behind the scenes.
A incitement to civil war. Already, there are massive reports coming out of Iran of attacks on border stations. You know, why do you think that you want to do this? Is the Syria model. You eliminate the border and you flood it in with a bunch of friendly, aka CIA-backed assets. Does anyone who want to tell me who the great enemies of the Shia people are? Al-Qaeda. I mean, we've got an Al-Qaeda leader sitting on the throne in Syria, right over there. Just think. This is going to be Libya on steroids if the Israelis and I guess the Americans now get their way. We're screwed. They had no plan. They really believed some sort of Delcy Rodriguez thing was going to happen. And another way where you can see the lack of coordination, look at the Gulf. These guys have been caught completely flat-footed. The Kuwaitis are throwing things up. This is not a sophisticated military. You have Doha. I mean, I used to live in Doha. I am watching places where I know with ballistic missiles falling out of the sky. Some of these hotels, you and I have been to these hotels. Yeah. Can you imagine? Dubai Airport. I've slept in that airport 1,000,000 times.
Closed down.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, and I think that was the folly of what the administration was thinking all along. I think this is the issue with installing just sycophantic loyalists, is that they're not the most competent people. I guarantee you, Trump probably sat down with Pete Hegseth, and Pete Hegseth was like, oh yeah, it's a good idea. That's why he was getting yelled at there. Because, yeah, you install people who are absolutely not qualified for this job. They are idiots. They're not smart, but you put them in because they're essentially glorified yes men. And this is now the fallout from that. And so when you are seeing that, yeah, he's telling you to go in, but anyone could have, I told you, and I'm not the smartest person in the world. I said, yeah, they're not going to give up. They're going to fight to the last. They're not, it is exactly the same organizational structure that you would see in any terrorist cell group. Not calling the IRGC a terrorist group. They're not great people, but if you thought that it was going to be a cakewalk and you could just effectuate regime change by doing aerial strikes, no, they're hiding out in bases. They're in the mountains. It's decentralized. It's not like you can just go and bomb the White House or bomb Mar-a-Lago and you're going to hit the target that you want. Like, that is not realistic here. Like, yes, okay, you did take them out, but what have you seen now? Okay, well, you took out the top guy, right? You took out Khomeini. Then his son stepped into power. Then they take him out. And then now his grandson, Khomeini's grandson, is in power now as the acting. Like, it can pass down. They're not going to ever give it up. And it's just going to continue. Again, it's like cells. You cut off one head and another one just grows back. And so to think that, yeah, they're just going to give up. The big bad US. No, the calculation is that you can inflict maximum amount of pain. And once again, you took the leader out immediately, and the attacks on Israel have only ramped up day after day after day, and it's going to continue to happen as I predict. That again, that's my prediction. And so yes, the brain rot thinking here to believe that they were just going to put their hands up and surrender. No, absolutely not. It's decentralized. You haven't actually crippled them at all. You don't think they've been building up weapons. They don't need a nuclear weapon to absolutely destroy everything in that entire region. Like, yes, okay, they may not be able to strike against the United States. Yes, they may not. But if you fire enough conventional weapons, you can create enough devastation to have the impact of a nuclear weapon. So you don't need a nuke to create the amount of destruction and devastation of a nuke. If you just have an insane amount of other weaponry that you can fire off. So please spare me that you thought, again, it's just these idiotic people that have been appointed into seats of power that should not be in them whatsoever. But because they're loyalists and they're willing to go along with whatever, and they're just role playing that they have any idea of what is going on here, well, how is that playing out right now?
It is hard to, the Dubai piece is wild.
It's crazy.
And because the whole brand proposition of Dubai is like, oh, we're sort of exempt from any instability from the region. We're like exempt from that because this is where the global elite keep their money, right? This is where you can go and buy these palatial, multi-million-dollar luxury properties. This is where you can go on your exclusive vacation and, with the beautiful beaches and the manufactured, super high-end luxury hotels and all of this, the tallest building in the world, et cetera, et cetera. Now you've had some of those hotels hit. You've had them struck. You have all these videos coming out of people who are shocked. And there are tons of Americans there, by the way, but people from all around the world, the global elite all around the world.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. I've been ingesting a lot of these videos. But yeah, the amount of people who are like, again, assuming there's some sort of influencer, I don't really keep up with that culture, so I'm not fully versed on who anyone is. But yeah, people who are there that are like, oh, cool, and then they freak out because the realization sets in of, oh no, actually we're being struck by missiles. Like, yeah, like you didn't think that there was going to be some sort of collateral damage in your neighborhood? Like, no, of course, anyone who's seen to be basically enabling this sort of action against Iran, of course they're going to attack you. And I guess the positive is at least we have video, because the US, again, doesn't want any of this to come out because how insanely unpopular that is. But yeah, again, these influencers can't help but, oh, look at this video, virality, we gotta post it. So they're totally shooting what the US wants in the foot with this, the US military and the White House. But yeah, you get to see it firsthand. And I would be lying if I didn't say I found it kind of entertaining, because I'm sure all of these people are whitewashing all of the atrocities of Saudi Arabia and Dubai and all these places anyway. So I'm not going to cry any tears for them. But again, it is something, if you go online and you are searching, you can find all of these videos. And so yes, it is places like Dubai that are getting hit. And again, I cannot say I feel bad for anyone who is getting retaliated against in this way. Because, and I think this is very important, is the United States needs to learn a lesson. Israel needs to learn a lesson. All of these places need to finally be put in their place. And I say that as an American who loves America, but the military-industrial complex has not listened to us at all. And that's why I do feel a little bit bad for Israeli citizens living in Israel, because do all of them want this to happen? No. But again, there's no other way for the elites to learn this message, because they're so detached from reality at all. Again, they have complete brain rot. They have worms in their brain. They have been basically elevated to such a level for so long and have not had to answer to the will of the people and have not had to been brought to the reality of what the situation actually is. They just think we spend so much money on the military that we're completely invincible, we're completely invulnerable, we can't be touched. And again, there's no other way, obviously, for them to learn this message other than what is going on right now. And again, just like I said, the Israeli citizens living in Israel, I do feel a little bit for them because same thing, if I were to get bombed, yeah, that sucks, right? Because again, the message that I'm saying in this video is that we absolutely should not be doing these types of operations. We absolutely should not be attacking Iran. We should not be in the Middle East at all. But if we got bombed, I'd go, I get it. It sucks, but I get it because we're just warmongering. We're totally being cucked by the military-industrial complex. The American people are not being listened to at all. So it sucks for the American people, but guess what? I mean, can you really blame other countries for attacking Israel, for if they did attack America, if they did, attacking Dubai, like any of these places that are enabling the United States to go out and do this? And Israel. Can you really blame them? I can't.
This is a manufactured playground for the rich that is now taking hits by Iran. The damage this will cause long term to their whole sort of value proposition there, you can't even wrap your head around. Then we're going to.
And I think that specific component of playground for the rich, that's why I think I feel so detached from it, is because that's exactly what it is. Like, it's this super bougie place where the elites that if you can't tell, I'm not a fan of, they go to hang out. And so if their playground is destroyed, I'm not particularly upset. So yes, again, I'm definitely not going to shed a tear for it. And that's probably why I'm so apathetic to it. Yes, there are people there who are not in that class, but again, if it affects them, anything that can be done to bring them back down to earth from whatever detached plane that they think they live in, where they're so much more important and they're just completely detached from any sort of consequences, the better.
Get to the market fallout. You had Saudi Aramco, you had some of their assets hit. You have Qatar completely shutting down their LNG production. Already massive impacts. The Strait of Hormuz is de facto closed because the insurers won't insure the cargo ships that are going through there because the Iranians have attacked a few ships that are there in the region. And so the insurers say, no, you can't travel through there. So they're that's all it took. That's de facto closed now. Something that Sagar, we've been hearing about threats and how dire that would be because 20% to 25% of the world's oil passes through there. So, and it happens to be the oil that's most influential in terms of setting the price for the market. So it's an extraordinary disruption. You could sort of, I think, equate it perhaps to the level of disruption we saw in the early phases of the Ukraine war in particular.
Yes.
That's at least where we are already. And we are mere days into this war. So you have U.S. fighter jets either being shot out of the sky by Iranians or by our own allies. You have damage to our allies throughout the region. We're going to ask Professor Sachs later on about this clip of a Saudi analyst saying the Americans abandon us and only care about protecting the Israelis. You have already dire warnings and concerns about the number of interceptors that we have.
And that's a huge problem as well, because basically we are stabbing in the back. Even if you just leave the ships there or the artillery there or whatever munitions were being used, like even if you just leave it there, but the problem is, we cuck ourselves to Israel, so we got to go rush everything over to their aid, forget the fact that we're running out of interceptor missiles in the first place for the Iron Dome. But now you're seen as, again, it could just be totally cosmetic. You just tell them, oh yeah, we're running out of munitions for this. But they are taking away from it. Oh no, they actually moved the artillery over to try and protect Israel instead of trying to protect us. If you do not think that is going to cause them to take a second look at, well, why are we actually being allies with the United States? Especially in the face of, oh, well, these $100 million jets and all of it. Like, if it's not a decisive victory, which I do not think it will be, I think it will go down as a catastrophe like Vietnam. There's already reports that Trump has tried to re-begin negotiations and reach out to Iran, and they basically said F off. Because, oh yeah, you killed the people who were more measured and willing to, hey, yeah, okay, we don't really like what the U.S. But I mean, look at the Midnight Hammer, right? We struck them, and they basically were like, yeah, like, okay, we'll do some performative strikes back. Like, those people are all dead now. So now you're probably going to be, number one, because you killed the people who were more level-headed. Now you're going to get people who are pissed off and are more radicalized against you. So that's problem number one. But then, yeah, the more radicalized factions within that regime are going to rise to the top because they're going to say, look, we were right. We were right, and they're more cutthroat, probably. And so in that instance, well, those are going to be the people who take control. When there's upheaval, it's more radicalized parties and more brutal parties that are going to be the ones that rise to the top. So, of course, they're not going to want to sit down and have any sort of negotiation. No, you started this and we're going to finish it. That's the way they look at it, even if it means their own death in service of that mission.
Remaining. The Iranians, which, look, they're taking a lot of damage. I mean, they've had hundreds of people killed, huge damage in Tehran and other places in the country. These horrifying images, obviously, of these schoolgirls, the hospitals that are being hit, etc. But they also seem to have learned from the 12-day war. And their strategy is, we're going to send out all of these.
Yeah, and the wildest thing about that story, if you've not heard it, apparently a girls' school was hit, and 100-ish girls were killed within the first 24 hours. And now there are some storylines that are coming out where, oh yeah, they were leveraging Anthropic's AI, and it was the one that essentially effectuated that strike and told them to strike there. So, and I'm not, again, that is just some preliminary reporting that I have seen come out with it. But yeah, if that is the case, like, why are we leveraging AI to make these kinds of targeting decisions? Why are we using it in hot war scenarios? Just completely insane to me. Like, what are you doing? It's not like it has been tested in war games and this kind of stuff. No. You're just rolling it out. And now it is possibly responsible for killing 100+ girls. Do we think this is a good idea? Again, only the most idiotic leadership would do something like this. Looking at you, Pete.
Drones, which it's the similar drones to what the Houthis were using. By the way, the Houthis have joined the fight. Hezbollah has joined the fight. These $20,000 to $30,000 drones that they can mass produce, and just send out, and you exhaust the stockpile of interceptors of both the Israelis and the Americans. And then later on, you hold your bigger stuff for later on. Now that's a risk for them because it's possible that their ability to launch those missiles gets destroyed. That's certainly the goal of the U.S. and the Israelis. But, it's not a crazy bet that they're making right now. And they know that we have much less.
And that's exactly what I was saying, where, again, just because I have been monitoring it from the onset all the way till now, it literally has seemed like minimal on night one, where, okay, there were a few strikes that got through from Iran towards Israel, then escalated where it was, okay, now they're blowing up our military bases in the region, and there were fairly significant amounts of missiles and bombs and all those things, drones that have gotten through and started striking Israel. Like, you're actually starting to see a pretty significant amount of damage. And then again, it's continuing to ramp up. And I think it will just continue in that trajectory. And then who knows how long they can sustain it, but I think that's the direction that it's going. And so yes, what she's saying literally just corroborates exactly what I have seen.
Stomach for and capacity to take damage than they do, because for them it's existential. For us, we don't even want to be doing this shit.
Right, yeah, we're already 4 more lives than this entire thing was worth. And all the people at the top are telling us are that there are going to be more. Why don't we show some of the video just so you guys can see? It's not just us talking. This is a region which is on fire. I mean, nobody has seen scenes like this literally ever. I mean, even at the height of the Iraq War, it was in the middle of Iraq. This is West Jerusalem last night. I mean, look at that. Can you imagine living in the middle of downtown and watching a missile? Densely populated. I've been to West Jerusalem. That is crazy. Look at this. This is in Kuwait. You can see an American soldier, American service member filming this. Do you hear what he says? They're starting to dial in our buildings. That was a suicide drone. This is from the Straits of Hormuz. This was Skylight, I believe, is the name of the ship which was attacked. There's already been 1 confirmed death in an attack on a ship which was off the coast of Oman. This is Tehran. I mean, this is unbelievable. There were even video coming out late last night, our time, where you could see that the bombs were so light, they were lighting up the mountains behind them. Who knows how many thousands of people are being killed there right now. This is in Israel, in Bet Shemesh. I talked about this in my update, which we mentioned, in the middle of Dubai, probably one of the most iconic hotels in the world. Here we have in the middle of Beirut, you have destruction everywhere. Hezbollah has launched attacks into the middle of Israel, not to mention the F-15s that we just talked about that went down. That happened just, middle of the night, our time, in the middle of, what was that? In the middle of Bahrain.
That was in Kuwait.
Sorry, in Kuwait. You have crazy situations playing out in Bahrain. A lot of people may not remember this. Bahrain has a very significant Shia population, but they're ruled by a Sunni kingdom, right? Well, guess what? Every single time the Iranian drones are making impact in Bahrain, the local Shia are cheering. This is some Arab Spring stuff, which, by the way, the United States actually intervened on their behalf to actually make sure that they could quash the Shia opposition inside of that country. This is tens of thousands of Americans who are housed there. This is a full-blown regional conflict. The price of oil, the price of gas, everything is being affected. I mean,
I laugh there, but truly, this is find out. This is find out territory. And it's hilarious because this is the administration that loves the FAFO and the MAGA base that loves the fuck around, find out. This is the find out. We fucked around and now we're finding out. And again, you can't do anything but laugh. And there's like memes coming out now where it's like, turns out the only antidepressant I needed was watching Israel on fire. And it's like, yeah, I mean, like the American people are absolutely not for this at all. And it's literally find out. It's find out now. And now they're finding out. And again, I'll go back to what I was saying before. This is the only way they're going to learn. You can't do this. War has changed. You can't just go around bombing places indiscriminately. As Breaking Point said, they got the sugar high from the Venezuela. This is why I didn't like the Venezuela mission to begin with. Because they took away the exact wrong conclusions from it of, oh yeah, you can just go in and you can do whatever you want and you walk away with no consequences. That is absolutely not what they should have. Again, I wish they wouldn't have done it because that's what they took away from it. And now they think that they can just go in and airstrike and take out the leadership and then they'll bend the knee to us immediately. Absolutely not. Anyone who thought that has mush for brains. You're a complete idiot. And now you're seeing, again, this is your find out moment.
Number of people who are dead now has got to be probably in the thousands, considering the number of casualties which is happening. The vast majority of these are going to be in Tehran. As you said, I mean, look, these are Gaza-level images. We're talking about hospitals and schools and all this which are getting struck. And I'm not going to let the Iranians off the hook either. They hit one of the biggest hospitals, and it was a Palestinian hospital in West Jerusalem. But this is war. This is the totality of all of it. And how do you pull back from here? The off-ramp that Trump, I think, really believed that he could do Midnight Hammer again. He's like, I'll bomb them and then they'll capitulate and negotiate. But he didn't understand, which we did, so it's not like he didn't have this same information. No, Because at a certain point, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, you could see all of this playing out right now. For them, they're like, I'm not going to be bombed. You're going to kill the Ayatollah, and then I'm going to come back to the negotiating table with you. Also, the people with the monopoly on the use of force, the IRGC, they are the people most loyal to the Ayatollah. They are the, what do they tell us? Oh, they're psychopaths, they're criminals. Yeah, they hate us, okay? You think that they're going to be the ones who have all of this control over the military, and they're just going to turn around and they're going to say, oh, here you go, Mr. President. No, okay, they'll fight to the death.
Yeah.
They have tens of thousands of these people. I mean, the whole thing, this is a disaster.
Yeah.
And that's literally exactly what I said. And that was why I said it, is because, yeah, again, these people are radicals. That's why we should be completely out of the entire area. All the Middle East, we need to be out of it. Because again, you let these forces fight each other. Why are we sticking our neck out for Israel? It makes absolutely no sense to me. It is patently insane. So when we are doing something like this, of course they're not gonna surrender. They're as if they didn't already hate us for basically backing up and enabling Israel's genocidal tendencies in the region. Well, guess what? Now they hate us 1,000 times worse. And if you don't think this turns out bad because of that exact sentiment, and you don't think this is going to continue until you literally eliminate every single one of them, which I think is impossible, you're a complete idiot. I don't know what to tell you. Like, anyone who thinks this is going well, or that it was going to go well, I called it before it even happened. I said this was exactly what was going to happen, and this is exactly what is happening. Again, I don't even think I have the most foresight into this entire region and the complications therein. I just have really good big picture thinking, and again, it doesn't take a genius to figure this stuff out.
Even if it ends today, it's a disaster.
It's already an utter, shameful, destructive, chaotic catastrophe. I was telling you before, Zahra, it's hard for me to think of a more reckless action taken by any country, not just our country, but taken by any country in modern history. I mean, in terms of level of recklessness, it exceeds Iraq. I mean, the lies that we don't know what the objective is. We don't know what the goals are. We don't know what the strategy is. Our allies are not with us. They didn't even bother to manufacture consent. It's complete and utter insanity. And I think you have to chalk it up to, Trump being high on his own supply with Venezuela, being a complete fucking idiot. And also, I mean, you have to look at the Epstein files and go, I don't know, maybe that is part of what's driving the calculus here, because the whole thing seems so incredibly insane. And now you've got effectively, so the Iranians have... And
I want to pause on that for a second, because, yes, that is, and I've called it before in videos, is the problem with having someone who is compromised in such a way where they have done heinous things. Just assume for a second that it's true. The fact that they have done heinous things to children, possibly eaten children, I'm not going to say Trump did that, but assaulted underage minors, have done things that are insanely illegal, and another country has that over them. That is why I said you cannot have people who are compromised to that level in places of power like the presidency or like Congress or like any of these basically power areas, because they can get you to do insane actions like this. Because what is the alternative? Oh, you get exposed as a pedo. And then you go, basically, the entire United States turn on you. So you go, well, I guess I gotta do a strike on Iran. I guess I gotta go along with it. Again, there's no other reason why you would ever go along with something like this. Like, even in recent interactions with Bibi, it seemed like Trump has wanted to kind of tamp him down. And I think that is exactly why they did what they did, and why the mindset is what it is about this, is because Bibi was basically saying, you have to go in because I have dirt on you, so you have to go with us. We'll all go in, we'll attack Iran together. And then Trump's ideology for it, because if I'm trying to put myself in his shoes, if I was a pedo and they had all this dirt on me, I would go, okay, we did Midnight Hammer, we did Venezuela, it was a very targeted attack, we'll do that again here, we'll basically step out. But what they didn't account for was, oh, no. Iran is a much larger country. They have way more weaponry. They're way more advanced than any of the other countries that we have attacked in the region. And so when that is the case, they're not going to, exactly what they're saying, they're not going to put up with it. Like, you can attack me once, okay, fine, we'll let it go. But when you keep attacking them, they're not going to allow you to continue basically harming them and degrading their capabilities and doing these sorts of strikes without striking back on you. Of course, that's what's going to happen. And so now you've basically walked into a hornet's nest, you shot yourself in the foot, and you have no one to blame but yourself. Yourself and your indiscretions against underage girls. That's the only explanation I can come to with this. So that's why I'm so pissed off about it. That could totally be incorrect, but again, there is no other. It could be that they're threatening his life. That's literally the only other thing of, if you don't go along with it, the CIA and the Mossad are going to assassinate you. That's literally the only other explanation that I can come to. That, or he diddled little kids and he doesn't want it to come out. Because the Mossad probably has tens or hundreds of hours of him doing this. So again, those are literally the only two explanations. And which one do I think is more likely? That he was best buddies with Jeffrey Epstein and he never did anything, despite the birthday book, despite the Epstein files that has had his name that have been retracted, that there's literally proof of claims made against him of horrendous things. This is why I don't feel bad about it at all. This is why I laugh about it, is because these people need to suffer. He's not sending his son into the war. He doesn't even believe it. And for you to buy into it when he doesn't believe it, he's just spinning up propaganda about how it's going so well. Because immediately people would raise up against him and march on the Capitol tomorrow if all of this came out. Again, I don't know, and this is speaking as someone who loves America, who loves the country, who loves the majority of people living in it, but the people who are running it are the worst people in the world. Full stop.
Engaged, what they call their mosaic strategy. So these IRGC commanders are relatively empowered to make their own decisions. So even if you keep taking out Iranian leaders, they are still empowered to keep going. That makes it very difficult to see an immediate term regime collapse. Not to mention, look, I'm not saying that the current government in Iran is super popular. I don't think anyone knows what the popularity is, but they do have a base of support. Yeah. I mean, there were people who came out who were mourning the assassination of the Ayatollah, who were deeply upset, and it will predictably have an impact of a rally around the flag effect and stoking Iranian nationalism within the country.
And it will radicalize them against us in the future as well. Just keep that in mind.
I think what has happened here is Trump thought that their initial salvos would be devastating enough that the regime would either topple or they would be on such thin ice or such shaky ground that they would feel they had to come back to the negotiating table. And that has not happened. That is a fundamental miscalculation that, if you were listening to Trita Parsi, if you're listening to us, if you were listening to Jeffrey Sachs, if you're listening to Professor Mearsheimer, you would have known that is not what is going to happen here.
And then the last bit of reporting that I wanted to bring up that they did not cover here is that of Benjamin Netanyahu basically fleeing to Germany. And I will say that is unsubstantiated, but if so, how absolutely just hilarious. Literally, the story writes itself. Literally, a Jew fleeing to Germany to hide in a bunker in Berlin. Again, unsubstantiated. I have also seen claims that Netanyahu has actually been killed by a missile strike. So who knows what the truth, and that could be a lie, right? Because They faked Jeffrey Epstein's death, it sure looks like. So in that case, yes, okay, it may be that he is in hiding in a bunker and they have faked that he was killed in a strike by Iran onto Israel. Who knows what the actual truth of it is. But if so, hilarious that this rat who caused this entire thing to happen and has been agitating and wanting this war for 30, 40 years, well, he's just going to run off when things start to get hot. Just hilarious. So, yeah, that's just something else to call out that is interesting and exposes his character if true. That when things start getting hot, I'm not going to... And that I actually said this to one of my friends. That is the one thing I do not agree with the Ukraine-Russia conflict. But the one thing I will say is that at least Zelensky stayed in his country and didn't flee like a rat. That's literally what I think of Benjamin Netanyahu. Assuming that he did actually flee. If he went down with his ship, I give you some modicum of credit. And at least you're not a complete scumbag and a rat. But I think you are. I think you probably are hiding in a bunker in Germany somewhere. In Berlin. Anyway, that will about do it for what I wanted to cover today. Sorry I got a little bit heated. But the fact of the matter is, I absolutely think that this is, again, a find out moment. They fucked around. Now they're finding out. And I don't know how you can be so detached from reality that you thought that you could get away with just doing a quick bombing strike and there would be absolutely no consequences, and you thought you could just walk away from it like you did in Venezuela. And that's probably why they thought the way they did. But this is completely a find out moment for me. I feel bad for the military members of the United States who, again, may have been signed up beforehand, didn't really want to go along with it, but now this is where they find themselves. I think it's a tragedy, but again, at a certain point in time, if you walk into a hostile country with a gun, what do you think is actually going to happen? With the intent of shooting at them. That's why I never went into the military. That's why I think it's an insanely bad idea. Because again, you're at the whims of people who will not send their own children because they don't believe in the war, really. They believe in profiting off the war. And that's the class of people that are so detached from the average American that do not give a shit about you or me, and they're willing to just send you off to die on their behalf to make money. And that's what or for the greater, not even, I mean, I guess they will probably make money off it somehow, or for the greater Israel project. Not even in the interests of America. This is not America first. This is not what I want. This is not what you should want. This is not what any American should want. But if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.